Hey, welcome back to my channel, guys. I am talking to you today about the pill, or why I don't really talk about the pill. I just released a blog post about this recently, but I like to hit all platforms with that kind of stuff. So I do get asked to do episodes about the pill, and the reason I don't is because I personally see it as a bit of a different issue. The first reason, quite simply, the pill wasn't really a part of my story, and so I don't like think of it, and it doesn't resonate too much with me. I was on the pill many years before my HA, and so I knew that that wasn't the cause of my hypothalamic amenorrhea. But I know that many other women have been on the pill and they came off the pill and they didn't get their period. And that is called post-pill amenorrhea, but you don't have amenorrhea because of the pill. And that's why I don't talk about it. That's the second reason why I don't talk about it much on the show, is just because if someone comes to me in the DMs or emails me or does a coaching call with me and they say, I was on the pill and here's my story and I don't have my period, I just almost entirely ignore the pill bit, especially if it was months or even years ago. I don't talk about the pill because you don't have amenorrhea because of the pill. You just didn't know you had amenorrhea because of the pill, especially hypothalamic amenorrhea. So typically when you come off the pill, it can take a couple of months, but you should get your period back. And I did a really great podcast episode with Renee McGregor where she explains this. I'll try to remember to link it into the show notes for you, but you can just search the Hypothalamic Amenorrhea podcast, Renee McGregor, and she helps to explain that like the pill is masking your HA. You don't have HA because of the pill, and so it's not really to blame. What's actually happened is you just thought you had your period, and then when you went off it and it didn't come back, it makes a lot of sense to correlate that to this like pill that you were taking for months or years. So yeah, they're not really the same thing. So if you are on the pill and you come off and you don't have your period, it's because of all of the same reasons everyone else gets hypothalamic amenorrhea. You're underfueled, you're highly stressed, you're just working out too much, not eating enough, putting too much pressure on yourself. Yeah. So I love to be able to say that once you're off the pill and you realize you have amenorrhea, come on into the community because you're just the same as the girl who wasn't on the pill and who has amenorrhea. So I hope that that's a little bit helpful. I hope that doesn't upset anyone. Like I hope that you don't feel like the pill has been this wonderful thing that you've been able to put your amenorrhea on. That's just not necessarily the case for the vast majority of people. So yeah, well, that was that. Let's jump into a little bit of AMA, a bit of Ask Me Anything. I like to do these every now and then, and I think that it's a lot of fun. So question number one is, what is a good macronutrient range in general for people with HA and people who are recovered from HA? I've been trying to eat 2,500 calories. What's a good macronutrient range? So this question is pretty simple. You need to be prioritizing every macronutrient, fat, protein, and carbs. So if you're, looking to kind of figure out which macronutrient is more important than the other, you're not really going to get that answer. And the thing is that there's no possible way at all for anyone to give you a general range that works for every woman with HA. Every single person in the world is pretty different with the macronutrient ranges that they need. And so you're gonna find that whatever works for you doesn't work for the girl next to you, and so on. So it would be kind of irresponsible for me to be like, oh yeah, like 120 fat and 120 carbs and 120 protein. I think that you're gonna need to get a bit more individualized with that. And then the second part to this question, basically like or to this answer, why do you want to track your macros anyways? There's nothing wrong with it, especially, you know, I have no issues with people who want to track their macros, but when you're in HA and just outside of HA, you know, you really need to take a step back from that kind of thing. Many women find that even if they are eating enough and they feel like they can't fit any more food in, but they're tracking, there's something about the stress of it that adds to their plate. The stress of just having to check this app or make sure you're hitting your numbers and playing food Tetris and like, I can have that and I can't have this, is a stressor that will hold you back. You're going to make the most progress when you remove the pressure to track and hit certain macros. In fact, I would hedge a bet that you would be more likely to get your period back totally winging it and hitting only like 2,300 calories than you would be tracking every single calorie to 250, 2,500 numbers. So yeah, that's my answer to that. Question number 2 is, how is pregnancy going so far and what does your husband think? Pregnancy so far is going great. Second trimester, feeling way better, actually feel human, have the energy to like put makeup on somewhat and do this video with you. And my husband he's one of those husbands that's like not sure that it's real. I can feel that I have a baby bump and it's really cool and exciting. And because of COVID, only I've been allowed to go to appointments. So he isn't getting as much of the experience. And I think it's pretty common for guys for it to not really be real until they actually feel a baby kicking or it's born. So we'll see, but I know that he is excited and nervous, probably more nervous than excited. That's kind of his nature. Question number 3, can I get my period back and still exercise? It doesn't matter what, where, when, how I post questions for an AMA, this question will come up. And I have to wonder, does this question always come up from someone who is just in HA limbo and unable to like make the commitment and is looking for every single shred of information and that they can find that tells them, yes, you don't have to change anything basically about your lifestyle? So is it possible when exercising? Yes. Will exercise look wildly different to what you were doing before? 99.9% sure. Exercising is like 10 minutes now a day and you're just doing like a little light circuit of some weight stuff. You're not raising your heart rate. If you are redefining, because this is like kind of subjective, right? Like, what is exercise to you? Women in this community have a very strong opinion sometimes about what exercise is, and that thing that woman's doing over there, that is not exercise. And you're gonna have to rethink that. Yes, you can move your body. No, you really shouldn't be pushing the intensity. If you really want to get your period back, this is what you'll do. And that's the bottom line there. Do you have to be all in to get your period back? I think that the community defines all in as the way that Dr. Nicola Rinaldi defines it, which is eat all the things and do absolutely no exercise. And if that's your definition, let's run with that. So no, I don't think you have to do it that way, because the protocol of all in that book is to stop focusing on like vegetables and meat and like the things that many of us were eating when we got in this situation, and turn to the foods we've been restricting from day one, and then focus on those foods, right? And I believe that we need to do that first part and then focus on those foods. But, you know, I've seen, and my experience was, I began to eat the foods that I was restricting before, chips, burgers, ice cream, whatever, and continue to work in vegetables, high quality proteins, supplements, high quality carbohydrates, and high quality fats. Like that was so crucial. And I truly believe that there are many women out there trying to get their periods back pounding at the ground with eating like chips and hot dogs and stuff only because that's what people are saying to do, and then their body's not necessarily getting the nutrients they need. Because so let's back it up a little bit here. Sometimes we're in an energy deficit, and sometimes we're in a nutrient deficit. When we have HA, we're in both. If you are just eating super high calorie foods, you're hitting that energy deficit. You're working on that. You're probably crushing it. If you're not focusing on getting nutrients in from vegetables, high quality meats and fats and stuff like that, you're probably not getting necessarily the nutrient value that you need. So if you're someone who this is taking a really long time for, that's just the next place I would look, is all. So you can absolutely get your period back with the all-in method. I mean, it's proven. There's like so much evidence, anecdotally and science. But just because you have your period back, does that mean you're healthy? No, it doesn't. So, you have to look after yourself in more ways than one. The main thing is that you're working on your relationship with food so that you can get past this. So going all in is going to work for some people because that's where they're at and that's exactly what they need. And then for other people, it's not exactly what they need. And there are many women who have felt worse because eating tons of processed food is not that enjoyable. So that's my 2 cents on it. You absolutely can. I advocate more for people taking an approach of eating lots of food, resting more, and focusing on eating high calorie, nutrient dense foods, the kind that you were probably restricting before when you were just living off like lettuce and cabbage and egg whites. Now you're gonna want to eat fatty meat, skin on chicken, fish, olive oil, coconut milk, cheese, all the good stuff. Whole foods. Let's do it. Let's bring it back to the pill a little bit. Question is, how come my friend can go off the pill and get pregnant straight away and I can't? So see, at the very beginning of this, I talked about the pill and how your HA is not related to the pill. This is exactly why that happens to people. It can feel really shitty, but it's more likely that your friend was in a position where they could go off the pill and ovulate ASAP because they weren't in energy deficit. Their body wasn't feeling stressed. Their body didn't need more care. So that's why. How do you find your podcast guests? I mean, there's not a huge formula. The podcast guests come from either they're my peers. I mean, we're all in the same space. We see each other's names and faces. We connect. I'm a huge believer in connecting with every single peer that you can and building a network. When you come across people in your industry who don't want you there, like who don't want you, quote unquote, as the competition, and they kind of ignore you or they like banish you and like block you from their space. Like there's lots of people who do that. Okay, I don't know about lots, but there's been some people who do that. And I'm just more of a proponent of like, if there's a peer in your space, meet them, get to know them. Or what can you offer them? What can they offer you? And how can you help each other grow? Because if other people in my area grow, like the whole HA space grow, I'm gonna grow. That's how that works. So yeah, I just see people around, I'm interested, I see them doing cool stuff, I get them on the show. And then there's also some people who are big names in the space, like we've had Lisa Hendricks and Jack, we've had Renee McGregor, and those are people that I learned a lot from before I felt like I had the confidence to come on the internet and, speak my learnings. So reached out to them and managed to get them on the show. People recommend people. I've been introduced by people. I love getting recommendations. It's so cool when listeners say like, hey, I would love to hear you talk to this person. So yeah, that's kind of how we do it. We all become best friends. How do I know if I am ready after my 3rd period to make changes? to my diet and lifestyle. So I love this question. We just did a whole talk on this inside of the HA Society recently, and I added it to the mini onboarding course because I think it's really important. Many of us lose our period after the first, second period because we made changes too soon. So it's kind of like a loaded question, but you are ready to make changes to like adding exercise back in, or going back to your favorite style of eating, like Whole30 or whatever you want to do. You're ready when your cycles are performing optimally. And this is a tough one because the only way to really know that for certain is to be tracking your cycle. Not everyone wants to do that. That's totally fine. That's your prerogative. At that point, you're going to go based more off intuition. But if you really want to be able to see when you're ready, tracking your cycle and just watching where it's at and how the different phases of your cycle are going to be, that's going to be super helpful. I do that a lot with my coaching clients, where we look at the chart and we see like if they've already gotten some periods back. All right, are we seeing signs of ovulation? Like, we're seeing a long enough luteal phase? How was your bleed? Was it enough blood? That kind of thing. We do that using tracking basal body temperature. We look for a spike in basal body temperature to see if you ovulated. We look at cervical mucus. Sometimes we look at cervical position, if that's what's going to work better for some people. And we look at other symptoms, right? Sore boobs, tiredness, unexplained crying, things like that really show us that your period's coming along nicely. And all of that kind of adds up into the package of a cycle that's within, the 24 to 35 day range, and that it's not falling short of that or getting much longer than that. And when you start to see those results, you can be more confident that you're ready to make some changes, especially because you can use tracking the cycle to see if those changes that you're making, like adding exercise back in, are actually causing your period to behave differently. The last question for today will go with, what are some signs that your period is coming? Almost every time someone tells me their boobs are really sore, not almost every time, every single time, anecdotally, that has happened, their period has been around the corner. I feel like sore boobs is just like imminent period. And that's typically a sign for most people directly after ovulation. So you've got quite a few days wait between then and when you'll see some blood. But yeah, sore boobs for sure. Like I was talking about earlier, tracking your cycle. If you are looking at cervical mucus, cervical position, temperature, you're gonna have some really good data there that shows you that your period's on its way. Those things can be really hard to look at when you are in the depths of HA, but you get pretty good at it. And when someone who is proficient and good at tracking or like analyzing charts can help you, then that's even better. And other signs would be, like I said, if you're seeing cervical mucus in your underwear in general, even if you're not tracking it, it's a good sign that you're going to ovulate, but it's not 100%. I might even scrap that answer a little bit, just because a lot of people see follicular waves and double peaks and even cervical mucus during anovulation. But it's a huge sign of progress in the right direction. Moodiness, unexplained crying for sure is a huge one. Like, why am I so upset about this? If you're like, that's a huge one. And skin breakouts, fatigue, just experiencing a different version of yourself is a really good sign. But yeah, I mean, everyone's different. It's one of those things where like everyone's pregnancy symptoms are different, right? Everyone's period symptoms are different too. But yeah, you should be able to notice some changes in yourself. And I would recommend, journaling and tracking like how you're feeling. I'm currently working on a journal right now because I love this kind of thing. The journal has like an area for symptom tracking or custom tracking, so that people can, if they don't chart, they can track, I saw cervical mucus, or I felt this way today, or I think my boobs are sore, and that kind of thing. And then they can be more aware of when those are happening. And start to notice that for the last 3 days in a row they had this symptom or something like that, because our brains are pretty unreliable. So that's that. If you want to know more about the journal, let me know. Working on it right now, probably like March. The best way to stay up to date on things like that is just to be on my mailing list or even the HA Society wait list. That's basically going to add you to notifications about those kinds of things. So yeah, that was fun. Thanks for joining me today, guys. I enjoy doing these little solo episodes from time to time. If you liked it too, please let me know. If you have a question you want me to do an AMA, which means ask me anything, for those of you wondering. Yeah, if you have a question you want me to answer, just like throw it to me in the DMs and I'll like copy and paste it and put it in my spreadsheet and I'll have it ready for next time. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you're watching on YouTube today. If you're listening to the podcast, please subscribe to the podcast. Can't thank you guys enough for joining me today, and every time you subscribe you help another woman with a missing period in need. Okay guys, have a great day.